Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Brienne and this is Books with Bri, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys a book haul of the books that I have been able to accumulate since my last book haul. So the first order that I had out of this book haul was from Book Depository, and I ended up getting first The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This takes place in the time of ancient Greek, I believe, and it follows Achilles and that kind of romance, and this is supposed to be an LGBTQ love story. I'm very excited to read it, and I've heard that it actually tends to emotionally destroy the readers, so I am very excited to see that because I love romances that can move me to ruin my mental state. Second book out of this order from Book Depository was The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, and this follows Rin. She goes to this prestigious school in the first half after acing a certain test, and then in the second half she is supposed to go to war. That is really the basis of what I know from this book, other than the fact that it has a ton of trigger warnings about substance abuse, depression, anxiety, and I believe as well sexual assault or abuse, as well as abuse in general. So if you are interested in picking this up, I would definitely suggest it. It tells a very important story from what I have heard, and I'm excited to read it, but I know personally when I start to read it, I am going to have to pace myself on reading it so that I am not disturbed really bad by some of the content in this book. So the third and final book that I got in this order from Book Depository is book 1 of the Merciless series by Danielle Vega. Now this one I hadn't heard much about, but for the past few years I have seen this and its sequels throughout the Target book section, and when I went back to get it this time it wasn't there, so I figured I would order it through Book Depository, and I'm really happy I did. I love this cover. It is so vibrant. I love it. It's a really good paperback. But this, I've always had the idea that it was about witches, and I'm not sure still, because from what I have read, it's about these three girls performing an exorcism on this other girl because they believe she is possessed. So I am not sure if it has anything to do with witches or not, but I was really drawn to the covers because the cover artist did a fabulous job. So I will definitely end up doing a whole maybe readathon because I want to read all 4 books that are now out. The next book I got was just a book order of its own from Book Depository. So this book specifically I had gotten an advanced reader's copy of back in late February because it was a few weeks after my birthday and I was so excited to get it, and then I didn't end up reading it until about mid-March, and I hadn't had the chance yet to purchase a final copy because my preference for hardcovers is that they don't have a dust jacket, but the cover is printed across the physical book because I don't know what to do with the dust jackets when I take them off, because I don't want to get rid of them because they are always gorgeous. So I ended up getting the UK edition of Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare, which is book 1 in the Last Hours trilogy. This was one of my favorite of the Shadowhunter books thus yet, and I cannot emphasize how much these characters stick with me and how beautiful this cover is. It's just absolutely gorgeous, and it's so nice that it doesn't just like come off, as well as coming with character art, which the ARC did not, so I had not had that. and the pages are nice and thick, and it's a good quality book. I just overall really enjoy it. This book follows James Herondale, Lucy Herondale, and Cordelia Carstairs as the main three characters, similar to the setup of the main characters from the Infernal Devices, where we had Tessa, Will, and Jem. And Cordelia is actually the main narrator of this story. You get a lot more of Cordelia's perspective than I had first anticipated, because majority of the Shadowhunter Chronicles is told from either a Morgenstern / Fairchild perspective or a Herondale perspective. So this was a nice, refreshing surprise, and it follows them as these attacks start to happen against Shadowhunters, and there had been this long period of peace after Will, Jem, and Tessa had defeated Mortmain in the earlier trilogy of the Infernal Devices. So if you really enjoy the Infernal Devices cast of characters, I would suggest picking this book up, because it goes into depth on where they are later in life and their children, because that is who the characters are. It is their children and the children of the rest of the cast from the Infernal Devices. The next order I made, I got 2 books from Barnes & Noble, and I had a specific reason for buying each of them from Barnes & Noble instead of Book Depository. So first is Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe by Fanny Flagg, and this book is an original women-loving women novel, and it combines the late 90s for the present and the past, telling 2 different stories. And I grew up watching the movie Fried Green Tomatoes, which Hollywood cut the woman-loving woman plotline out of because of the time period that it was made. And so I grew up not knowing that that was the original plot of the story until recently, maybe about a year ago. My grandma went, "Hey, did you know that the novel this movie is based on was actually centered around a woman-loving woman relationship?" And so now I just feel totally compelled to read this book. And the reason I got it from Barnes & Noble instead of Book Depository is because when I went to buy it, Barnes & Noble had it cheaper than Book Depository did, which is now actually flipped, so it is now cheaper on Book Depository than it is on Barnes & Noble. But I am just really happy that I was able to get this book and that I will be able to read it and just relive my childhood in a different perspective through this story. The last book that I made in my Barnes & Noble order was specifically for the Barnes & Noble exclusive cover that is under the dust jacket, and that book is Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. And this story follows Yadriel as he tries to prove to his Latinx family that he is a true brujo. When he tries to prove this, he tries to summon the spirit of his dead cousin, and instead ends up summoning Julian, the school's resident bad boy. And so this follows Yadriel and Julian as they are trying to figure out how to help Julian, because Julian is refusing to move on to the afterlife and let Yadriel his ties to his anchor. And so they go on to discover that the mystery is actually a lot larger than how Julian died. And the cover under the dust jacket, ooh, is beautiful. And we can see now why I wanted this cover. It is just simply gorgeous. It's so intricate. There is so much to it. I know in the other copies that are not Barnes & Noble edition that they have a gold foiled rose simply on the cover, but I really think this goes well with the culture and heritage discussed in this book and the theme of Dia de Muertes as well. Next order I made was again another order through Book Depository, and this one was a 4-book order. And so to start with, I got Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn, and this is really sort of a mystery thriller and I've seen the movie, and it was a really good movie, but it has been a long time since I've seen the movie, and I had originally had a copy of this book before, but when I went to find it to read it this month, I could not find it. And I looked everywhere before I decided that ordering it on Book Depository for a brand new copy would be the best idea. This is actually a lot smaller than my original copy. It is just about as big as my head. I think it is because this is the UK edition of the book. I didn't realize it was the UK edition, but it is very gorgeous, very simple. All of these cover artists are doing a magnificent job with these covers, and I just couldn't resist. I can't wait to reread this again. First time I was a lot younger and didn't understand what was going on, but this is supposed to be a really good thriller, and I can't wait to read it. Next book I picked up because I saw Noelle, another booktuber on YouTube who I absolutely adore and look up to, read it in one of her reading vlogs, and it actually completely destroyed her. Like, she was sobbing. So I don't recommend reading this book, along with the fact that it has so many trigger warnings. Like, the list is just continuous. There are so many. I had to look them up, and I couldn't even get all of them to like fit in my head to remember to tell you guys. There is just so many, and that is A Little Life. I cannot pronounce the name. Please, if somebody knows how to pronounce it, let me know the pronunciation in the comments so that I can correct myself, because I feel so bad for not being able to pronounce it. I am not exactly sure on the story of this, other than the fact that it follows a group of college students in different parts of their life, and how their life has changed and everything that goes on in it. And it's supposed to be truly emotionally devastating. Even Noelle suggests not recommending it to people because it is that, like, it hurt her that much. And I don't know, I love those kinds of stories, but I did get the UK edition. This cover, I love it. It's so pretty. It's very simple, but I don't know when exactly I'm going to get to it because it is a very thick book and it's going to be very dense. So I will let you guys know when I end up getting through this one. Now, the third book from this order I got because I have had it recommended to me so much through my school librarians and friends who have read it as well, and that is Sadie by Courtney Summer. And this is a YA murder mystery of sorts. It's told partly through podcast and partly through Sadie, and she has gone off to hunt down her younger sister's murderer in order to seek revenge. And I'm not sure exactly how this ends, and I'm not sure of all of the trigger warnings for this either, because being a murder mystery, there is bound to be at least some. And so I hope if you go into this, and if it was one of your favorites, please let me know what, without any spoilers, was your favorite aspect or reason why this is a favorite of yours. The last book in this order from Book Depository, I have to specify first and foremost, there is a major trigger warning for sexual assault. So that book is The Way I Used to Be by Amber Smith. This book I had recommended through Emma Books on YouTube. She is one of my favorite booktubers, and I have been following her for a long time. She is going to school for psychology, and so she read this one because the main character has experienced sexual assault from her brother's best friend, and this story is told in 4 parts: her freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year of high school. And it really delves into how she is dealing with the trauma from her sexual assault and how it is changing her as a person, and how she works through that, and how it's hard to work through. So I was just really curious to read this because I am trying to educate myself even more especially after my own personal experiences with sexual assault, I think it is really good to educate yourself and learn as much as you can. But I do highly stress the fact that there will be a major trigger warning for sexual assault. So please know that going in, and if this triggers you, please call someone or go talk to someone who can help you calm down. So the next order I made through Book Depository is again a single book order, and this one is because it is the October read for the Late Night Book Club from Noelle and some of her booktube friends. I am currently in the middle of reading it. I am about 30-something% of the way through it, and that is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. And personally right now I have some issues with it because there is a lot of slurs in here, homophobic and racially, and as far as I know, the author is not part of the LGBTQ community, and so using those slurs in any form is not good. It is so bad. So know that going into it, and I knew barely anything going into it, and it confused me a lot because I, as you can see, have stuck mainly to YA books that are fast-paced. This is a very slow read, and it is a more psychological read where you have to explore the psychological aspects of each character, and it is character-based. It's very, very character-reliant, and the plot is kind of slow-paced. You don't get much of it until like 200 and something pages in. There's a lot of references to ancient Greek works and ancient Rome. There is a lot of references that I don't technically understand, and I have to stop and look up. So be aware of that when you go into this as well. So the rest of these books I will be showing you, I actually purchased in person. And so these next two books will be purchased from Barnes & Noble's from my first trip there since COVID hit. And so the first book I got there was King's Cage by Victoria Aveyard, and this follows Mare Barrow as she lives in a world of red and silver bloods. And silvers have these godlike powers that make them almost truly invincible, and they are able to put red bloods to work to do hard everyday labor. And so everything changes for Mare and her family when Mare is sent to the palace to work because of a mistake that she made. And when she falls into the arena of this competition that is happening while she works there, everything in her world is turned upside down, and she is thrown into this political plot of the palace and all of the royals and the court as well. This is book 3 in the Red Queen series, and earlier this year I was able to read Red Queen and Glass Sword. I know a lot of people dislike Glass Sword a lot because it is a very politics-based story and the plot is very slow, but it ended on such a cliffhanger for me, and personally I like the politics in a fantasy book because it flushes the world out even better. And so I wanted to pick up the third book in the series because I do have Glass Sword in hardback. I was looking for this in hardback but could only find paperback, but that is okay because I don't even have the first book. So the other book I got at Barnes & Noble is yet again another sequel, and that is Unravel Me by Tahereh Mafi, and this is the sequel to the Shatter Me series. This is book 2. Book 1 follows Juliet in a world where the re-establishment rules, and they were put in charge to try and help save the world from all of the global warming, but they did not do that. They took advantage, and now birds don't fly, the sky is the wrong color, and everything is different. There are a major lack of resources, and everyone is living in these little camps of concrete buildings. They're little compound units. And so this is book 2 that follows the events of course, book 1. My issue with book 1 was Juliet. I did not like the main character. I only want to read book 2 because I want to know what happens with Adam and Warner. That is my only reason behind wanting to read book 2. I don't really care for Julia. I did not like her. I think she was underdeveloped in some of the most important areas and overdeveloped in areas that did not need to be gone into. Really, it did not matter, and the first book was kind of slow going. It took me over an entire month to read it, and it's about the same size as this. And I had nothing to do. I just could not bring myself to read it. So, hopefully book 2 is a lot better. Please let me know what you guys think of it without spoilers, please, because I haven't read it yet. Alright, so the rest of these books I actually got from the book section of Target, and like I've said before, I don't know how many times, I love supporting the book section of these stores in my town, because there are towns whose Walmarts and Targets no longer have a section solely dedicated to books. And for some people, being able to buy books from their local stores is the only way and the best way for them to be able to access books, because sometimes bookstores, like in my area, are an hour trip just to get there and then an hour trip back. We do not have a bookstore or a Barnes & Noble within less than an hour of us. And so to be able to buy books from our local stores is amazing, because I would not have grown up with a love of books if I did not have the access to books that is in our local stores. So the first book that I got is How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi. This book is very educational. I plan to read it and mark it up with notes and annotations, highlight it and everything, because this is such an important book to read, and it's on the New York Times bestseller list. It's #1, and it really, really shows a lot of the issues with racism in our country today. Like, that does not change. So, I have seen this everywhere, and for a long time, it was out on Amazon, it was out, checked out on hold for a long time through our public library, it was out on Barnes & Noble, on Target. I could not find it anywhere. And then I found a physical copy of it at my local Target, so I was really happy that they restocked it, and I definitely got a copy. The next book I got from Target was what really drew me to it was the layout and design of the cover and book itself, as well as the author, and that is Swimming Lessons Poems by Lily Reinhart. This is the actress who plays Betty Cooper on the popular Riverdale show. This book is absolutely gorgeous, and as of recently, Lily Reinhart came out as bisexual to the media. She had kept it from the media and private for a long time because it has become a sort of trend among celebrities to come out as bisexual for publicity, and she did not want anyone to discredit her sexuality because of what other celebrities are doing. And I agree that nobody should ever say that they are something if they know for sure that they're not, for simply publicity. But it is alright and totally normal to explore and experiment and change as you grow, and your sexuality is more so a fluid thing than set in stone. But I have not read this yet. It is absolutely gorgeous though, split colors and split palette. The pages are a sort of tinted pink. They are beautiful, and I cannot wait to read this, and it feels so soft. It is such a soft and smooth velvety book. It's such a weird description, but it is so smooth. It's got that I don't know if you guys have ever picked up some of the Milk and Honey books or the Pillow Thoughts books, but they all have a specific texture to the cover, and this one does too, and I love it. It's so nice to hold. Alright, and so the last book that I ended up picking up at Target is Call Me By Your Name by Andre Aciman. I have actually been able to avoid any sort of spoilers about the book and the movie this entire time. I have barely any idea what this is about, but since it is so popular and nobody can really pinpoint any cons about it, I don't know what it is about me, but it makes me want to read it simply to find the holes to poke in it. But while I do that, I will most definitely point out the pros as well as the cons, because what I am reading from the summary on the back shows some real red flags, because it makes sure to point out the fact that the main character is an adolescent, which means they are below the age of 18, and that they are having a romance with somebody who is old enough to rent or stay at his parents' summer house. So from that, I'm getting that they are older than 18, and that shoots red flags for me. But I want to read it to see if that's true, if my theories are correct, and what all of the hype is about, because it got its own movie adaptation, though I could not find this in anything other than the movie adaptation cover, which is a little disappointing, but this is a really pretty cover. I really do like the cover. But yeah, I will definitely be making some sort of video about this book. And maybe I'll do like reading the book vlog and then watching the movie. Not sure. We'll see. We'll see. Alright guys, that was it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell icon to be notified whenever I post videos, which is Mondays at 4 p.m. Central Time and Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Central Time. I don't know why, I just picked those days and they work. And please don't forget to let me know in the comment section below which of these books you've read and which ones you would recommend me reading first, because I have no idea where to start.